All right, guys, it is range day, and today we're out here with the Springfield Echelon. I am using the Core Duty Belt Universal Holster by Packin Holsters, and currently I'm at 700 rounds through the Echelon. I'm going to put 300 rounds through it at least today to get it to that 1,000 round mark. That way I can sit down and do the actual review portion on this firearm. Now that that's out of the way, let's go ahead and get this thing started. Alright, so I guess some people watched my Springfield Echelon overview video and they felt like I hated the gun, or I wasn't giving it a fair chance, or that I had some sort of personal bias or whatever. I don't know what to tell you. I actually like the Echelon. I said it in that video, I'll say it in this video. It's got some really good stuff going for it, but it's also got some shortcomings and some room for improvement, if you will. This is what I do here at 360 Tactical Solutions. My name is Mike, and I call it like I see it. I try to leave my personal feelings at the door, I test products, and we talk about it. If Springfield, or any other company for that matter, doesn't like my opinion, that's fine. I don't make these videos for them, I make these videos for you. During the range trip that I filmed the opener for this video in, I did reach that 1,000 round mark with the Echelon. Just after that trip, I had another ammo delivery come in, so I went back out and I put another 500 rounds through it. To me, it's important that I get this review right. I really do like the Echelon. At the same time, I do have some concerns. And I hope that these concerns pan out to be nothing or get worked out through aftermarket support over time. Let's start this up with reliability. First things first, I am not buying Blazer ammo anymore. There was a deal, so I bought a bunch. I had some primer issues with that stuff while I was using it with the Hellcat Pro. I had the exact same issues when I started running it through the Echelon. I ended up bringing out a handful of guns to test it out, guns like my Staccato, the M&Ps, and old reliable Baby Eagle. That Baby Eagle gives no F's about what kind of ammo that you feed it. Same issue kept popping up no matter what gun that I was running that Blazer through. Out of 500 rounds, I think I have like 20 failed rounds, all in all, out of like 5 different guns. No more Blazer. I'm just going to stick to ammo that I know that I can trust, and there will be a link down below in case you guys are wondering. Now, once I got past the Blazer fiasco and I removed those couple of issues from my assessment of the Echelon, I pressed forward to that 1,500 round mark. After that couple of boxes of Blazer that went through the Echelon, everything was smooth sailing. I didn't encounter any reliability issues that didn't have to do with that initial batch of ammo. Unless, of course, you count inadvertent mag drops. No, I am not talking about magazine implosion. It seems like the big issue with magazine implosion was while using the 20 round mags, and I've only got the 17s, so that's not something that I've encountered thus far. Now, in my initial assessment of this gun, I said that I was concerned about that ambi mag release. Now, during that initial video, I was 300 rounds into testing, but at the time I hadn't quite found a holster solution yet. We'll talk about holsters later, but I did end up solving the holster dilemma and heading back out to the range. I stand firm on my initial assessment of the mag release design. After several hundred rounds, it still felt like I had, I don't know, like a blister between my trigger finger and my middle finger. I'm not saying it gave me a blister. I'm saying that it felt like there's something between those fingers that just shouldn't be there. I mean, I'm squeezing the grip with these 3 fingers and actuating the trigger with this one, and it really feels odd to have like a foreign object situated between the fingers as you're working the gun. I can't tell if the mag drops are happening while I'm squeezing the gun or if it's during the draw. I'm not 100% sure, but it has happened a handful of times so far. Rather than just dealing with it, I went ahead and I changed out to the Apex single-sided mag release. Nice try with the innovation, Springfield, but some things work and some things just don't. The Apex mag release is slightly extended and it's got a really nice texture to it. You can set it up for either left-handed or right-handed shooting, depending on your personal preference. Once I got the Apex mag release installed, it did take a little bit of a break-in period before it was functioning smoothly. I did get it there though. They're using an Armor Lube coating. Armor Lube is in the family of DLC. DLC, of course, is super durable and you can expect it to last a very long time. In order to break it in, really what I did was I sat on the couch and I just worked it back and forth for, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes while I was watching some TV. And after that, it's functioned really well. On initial installation, it seemed to want to hang up a little bit, and that's why you have to break it in. Once you get it broken, it should function just fine. Another critique that I had about the Echelon was the trigger, and it's not so much about the performance as it is the shape and general feel of it. On the performance side, it does really well. The take-up isn't overly long. It's got a nice solid wall and break. The reset is actually nice and short. Honestly, the way that the trigger functions on this gun, it has a lot of potential for various different applications. Obviously, it's meant for duty use, and it certainly will work for that. But also, as the Echelon platform evolves, I can see that trigger being used with very little modification for various different types of competition use. By just removing the trigger group, or cog, or whatever they want to call it, you can swap it over to whatever frame and slide might be appropriate for the type of shooting that you plan on doing. We are talking, of course, later on, once the aftermarket's kind of caught up and made a bunch of new stuff for this platform. The trigger, it is a good all-around use trigger, and I think as we move forward later on, there are going to be a lot of ways to kind of dial it into your specific needs. Right now, though, I think that it works pretty well. I personally want something that has a little bit more of a flat face to it, but as far as function goes, I really do like the way that it works. So let's talk a little bit about this slide for a moment. The shape, the geometry of the whole thing, the serrations, the spots where it's milled to give you an area to go ahead and manipulate the slide. Look, I'm trying real hard not to go all in on Springfield, but they're not making it easy. I just keep reminding myself how much I don't like the XD series, and it helps me keep grounded while I'm reviewing the Echelon. Now, I'm not trying to do a comparison here, but this is the HKVP9, and anybody that's followed me long enough knows that I really hate this gun. There is so much about it that could have been better, and one of those things are these tabs at the rear of the slide. These plastic inserts are designed to give you a little ledge to be able to manipulate the slide from. Great idea, except they're bullshit plastic and they move around a lot and they're just held in by the rear sight of the gun. The Echelon seemed to have kind of borrowed that idea, except they did it right by actually milling them into the back of the slide instead of just adding some hokey-ass plastic tabs. Now that is how it should have been done all along. There are so many areas built into this slide for slide manipulations, and it works really well. I mean, everyone seems to have like a different idea of how to rack the slide, and this is going to accommodate everybody for their own personal style of doing that. Whether you want to go from the back, from the bottom side, from the front over top, it doesn't matter. There are plenty of places to grab and manipulate the slide on this gun. While we're on the slide, let's go ahead and talk about the optic mount. Now, so far the optic mount has worked really well for me. Probably 1,200 of the 1,500 rounds that I put through this gun have been with the Holosun 507C attached. The iron sights, of course, worked pretty well during the initial, whatever it was, 300 rounds of use. Now, I've heard some people complain about the U-notch sights on these Springfields. They shoot high, they shoot low, whatever the case may be. I think it is a different type of iron sight system, and I struggled with it a little bit at first, but I think if you're an iron sight guy or girl, it takes a little bit of practice to get it down. I don't know why, but they just work for me personally. If they don't work for you, it's easy enough to change them out. When I set up the optic on this gun, I started by taking the Delta Point Pro off of my staccato to go ahead and just see how the pin system worked. I did go back and forth between that Delta Point Pro and the Holosun 507C just to kind of get a feel for how it worked, and I gotta say, I think next to a direct mount, these are really solid in the way that they do hold your optic. Personally, I'd like a little more information from Springfield about the pins, though. I don't know what kind of steel they're made of. I don't know what kind of hardening process they've been through. I know that my Holosun has held on really well, but again, only like 1,500 rounds into the gun, so only time will tell. Now, the actual channel that is cut into the slide, it's oversized. It has to be in order to accommodate so many different optics. A lot of people are going to see the gap in the front and rear of the optic and wonder, over time, is it going to shear a pin or a screw? I'm undecided on that. In fact, I have 2 business cards here, and I can fit 2 in the front and 2 in the rear of the optic. Here's my Floyd's Custom M&P. Now, this slide originally was not cut for an optic. I sent it into Floyd's and they cut it for an RMR footprint. They did a little bit more slide work on it, but that optic is snug in there. There's no room in the front or the back. It is nestled in nice and tight. So with the way this one is set up, as the slide moves back and forth, a lot of that force is being absorbed into the actual slide, and it's not all being put onto, you know, the screws and the pins. The gap that's left in the front and the back of this optic, it does make me nervous. And like I said, I'm at 1,500 rounds. So far, so good. That doesn't mean that it's got my seal of approval. That doesn't mean that it won't fail at all. That just means that so far, so good. Now, if by some chance that changes, you better believe there will be an update video. As far as accuracy goes, so far it has been spot on. That new optic mounting system, it had me wondering if I was going to be chasing my 0 under heavy use, but so far I'm happy to say that has not been the case. For me, the 507C has proven itself over time on various other guns, so that's not an issue. As far as the Echelon side of things, it has performed exactly as I would expect under various realistic distances. I set an initial 0 on the optic at 25 yards. The gun's definitely proven to be more accurate than I can be. What I mean by that is that the gun is spot on. The grip, though, I'm really finding more and more that I don't like that adaptive grip. In areas like this takedown lever, the adaptive grip does pretty well using it as like a thumb ledge. My support thumb sits on there nicely, and I don't feel like it's moving around at all. I don't feel like I have to adjust it. The rest of the grip, the parts that really matter for recoil mitigation, follow-up shots, and just general control over the firearm, I don't feel like the grip texture is aggressive enough. The shape and the size of the grip is fine, but I really do find myself feeling like I have to adjust my grip quite a bit while shooting it. The texture, it's just too smooth for me. And at times it is interfering with my ability to continue shooting follow-up shots in an accurate and meaningful way. So what did I do? I went ahead and I added the Talon Pro grips to the Echelon. Problem solved. I absolutely love these things. Can't get enough of them. They give me a really solid grip without being like overly aggressive to the point where if I conceal carry the gun, it's eating at my skin all day. So speaking of conceal carry, let's go ahead and talk about holsters for a moment. I don't think the Echelon was really designed with conceal carry in mind. It's more of a duty carry gun, you know, outside the waistband type holsters. So of course I had to make sure that I could use it for conceal carry because, you know what, a lot of people are carrying full-size guns more and more for conceal carry. Now, I have 2 holsters here that I'm using for the Echelon, and both of them are a universal style holster. As always, there's info down below for all sorts of stuff, including these holsters. This one is the MTA by McKinatec, and it indexes to the TLR1 that I have mounted to the Echelon instead of actually indexing to the gun. Then the channel that is built into it for the slide of your pistol is somewhat oversized and generic so that you can use basically whatever gun that you want to. As long as you have a TLR1, you slap it on your gun and you have a holster for it. If you really want to conceal carry an Echelon, this could be a good option for you. I did go the last couple of weeks carrying the Echelon full time, and aside from it being a massive difference between that and carrying the Hellcat Pro, it actually rode pretty well. We're moving into the colder months here in the Pacific Northwest, so this is actually probably going to be my winter configuration until the sun comes back out in like June. A lot of times when I'm out shooting, I am using a duty belt, and this one is from Core. These are basically the only ones that I recommend using anymore. I've used a lot of different companies, and I always go back to the Core now that I've used them. For comfort, ease of use, and adjustability, Core just blows everything out of the water. Now I've Frankensteined this one together with some components from G-Code. I love the G-Code stuff. Their stuff is great, but the Core belt is number one. I use the G-Code mounting system for pretty much all of my outside the waistband needs. Now this outside the waistband holster, this one is universal, and I ordered this one drilled out for the G-Code. This one came from Packin Holsters. The holster, it is rock solid, and I'm really happy with it. The majority of the time that I've had the Echelon at the range, I've been using this outside the waistband holster from Packin Holsters. Again, this one is the same. It indexes to the TLR1, so whatever gun that I'm using, I can go ahead and move that light over to it and use the same holster. The Echelon is nice and secure in there while still being able to get a nice smooth draw. Ooh. I wasn't expecting that. So far, I am mostly happy with this Echelon. It has so much going for it. There are a lot of things about the Echelon that just work. Now, I don't know if I've seen anybody else mention this, but when you take down the Echelon, you don't have to pull the trigger like you do with a lot of other guns in order to disassemble it. Now, I've never minded having to do that with other guns. That's just part of general maintenance, and as long as you're safe with it, it's not an issue. I do know, though, there are a lot of people out there that will appreciate just being able to flip that takedown lever, release the slide, and pull it right off. Another thing I noticed, but I haven't really seen anybody else mention, is the polished feed ramp. A polished feed ramp really helps add reliability when using a wide variety of ammo. The Hellcat Pro, it also came with a polished feed ramp. When I see a gun come from the manufacturer like that, I know that they're thinking about the little things. Sure, I think that the adaptive grip texture comes up short, and I think that they should do away with it completely and go with something else, something more aggressive. That's okay though. I got a set of Talon grips and the problem's solved. Sure, I think that the Ambi mag release is the dumbest thing that's out there. You know what though? Apex fixed that up real fast. All in all, the Springfield Echelon, it really is a good gun. I think if you want to get into a full-size pistol with a very versatile optic mounting system, this is probably the one you should look into. If you want to get into a platform that over time you'll be able to expand with different grips and slides and barrel lengths, this is probably the one that you should look into. As we go through and we try all the different upgrades that are coming out for this gun, of course, I'm going to let you know how it goes. There are a number of upgrades out there in various stages of development, and I'm really excited to see how far I can push the Echelon. So stick around and see how that goes. I think we're going to have a good time with it. As always, thanks for watching, guys. Get out there and get some range time, and I'll see you back here real soon.